Because they're outright saying, telling you about the Guillain-Barré, softening it up, and then saying fears and misinformation about the vaccine are circulating, including inaccurate claims that it will be mandatory. It's my claim that it's going to be mandatory. I need you guys to bring up that USA or that Today Show thing where they say the 3-spot shot flu. That's right. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Mandatory. Remember, mandatory is the word they use. I'm not using the word. I don't get to decide who takes a shot or whether they should take it or not. That's not me. I'm not part of the bureaucratic, tyrannical, invisible empire that rules this planet. Okay, and by the way, the trailer for Invisible Empire may be up later tonight, maybe up tomorrow. We'll see. Working hard on it. Little segue there. But again, they're saying authorities are adamant now that it's going to be voluntary. Well, that's not what they've been saying all along. This article is really trying to soften the blow of what's to come. Thank you, Washington Post. I hate people. I woke up at like 6:30 in the morning. I decided to take my pup out and came back in. Couldn't quite sleep, so I threw the television on. And Chris Matthews has like a news show on early morning NBC on Sunday, and Bob Woodward was there and a bunch of establishment media personnel from Time Magazine. And they're all joking about fact checking and the internet. And these guys are trying. It just shows how spineless they are and how ridiculous they are. They're saying, we can only go so far because we have to fact check and we have to be thorough. They're not thorough. They're disgusting. Authorities are adamant that vaccination will be voluntary. No, if you look at what it says in this WHO document, okay, you take a look, and it says mandatory, and we're going to get to that, 1.5.1. Okay, we're going to read that nightmarish piece of international law, UN law, that we're going to be going by the way, because this is what this is. It's all about internationalism. It's about global government groupthink, okay? Let's see. To address concerns of pregnant women and parents with young children, some vaccines is being produced without a mercury additive. So right off the bat, they're telling you, 99% of this stuff is going to have thimerosal in it. It's going to give you mercury poisoning. And who do they want first? They want the kids, and they want the pregnant women to come in. This is the one time you will hear that there is mercury in these vaccinations. Remember, mercury good when they shoot it inside of you, but mercury bad when it's, produced by coal and it's in the environment. It's again, double think. We live it. It is so 1984 right now, I can't get over it. The CDC will step up monitoring for rare, serious complications such as Guillain-Barré. See, they're not done. They're doing short-term studies, and they really don't have the personnel to study everything, but they're looking out for Guillain-Barré. On Friday, officials reported that no red flag regarding safety had emerged in the clinical trials. Please, give me a break. Let's see. In Maryland, officials estimate that 2.9 people will fall into the priority groups for the vaccine. Virginia estimates that number to be 2.5 million. Let's see. The total amount of people that they're planning on getting with this, out of the 300 million in this country, 159 million people. More than 50% of the population. Setting priorities for delivering the vaccines will bring other complications. The elderly, usually first in line for flu shots, will not be so this time because they seem more resistant to the virus. But they remain a top priority for seasonal shots. See, they figure that they can just get sick and die from the regular flu shot, so why waste the other one? We're also going to be talking about who's profiteering from this, because there are quite a few profiteers in this swine flu. All right, so what is pandemic level 6 and why are we under it? Well, again, this is their own documents. Let's go right to it. 1.6, it's probably on the page before that. 1.52. 1.51, legal and ethical issues. Okay. During a pandemic, it may be necessary to overrule existing legislation or individual human rights. That's right. You have zero individual human rights. The Bill of Rights, the Constitution mean nothing to you because you are under international law, according to WHO Level 6, which we're under. Interesting. Examples are the enforcement of quarantine, overruling individual freedom of movement, use of privately owned businesses for hospitals and buildings. Oh, so we're just going to take over buildings and make them mass vaccination centers, whether you like it or not. Let's see. Off-license use of drugs. The drugs don't have to work. And by the way, I'm reading this subsection right here, folks. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, compulsory vaccination or implementation of emergency shifts in essential services. See, the word compulsory, that's a synonym. Synonym for the slow people out there means same, okay? Compulsory and mandatory mean the same thing. Who knew? But when the Washington Post reports it, oh, that's misinformation. Mandatory shots are not real. It says right here, compulsory vaccinations. Off-license use of drugs. They don't have to work. Okay, these decisions need a legal framework to ensure transparent assessment and justification of the measures that are being considered. What are those measures? Oh, we're going to get to that in a moment. We're going to get to the measures that they're willing to go to in a moment on the other side of this break, and then we're going to go to your calls. The call line is 888-201-2244. And folks, I mean, they spell it out right here. The International Swine Flu Conference, it just took place a couple days ago. The little workshop ended on August 21st. Okay, they had their little conference, the 19th and 20th. It was on C-SPAN. If you saw that, you need to call in and tell me the highlights. But you know what it was. It's some bureaucratic sitting up there snickering, saying, we really got to do what we can do for these people. If it breaks out like this, who knows what could happen to the country? We could have a real pandemic. Ooh, the piggy flu's coming. We'll be back after this is the InfoWarrior with Jason Bermas. Remember, go check out the websites, Infowars.com, and, of course, PrisonPlanet.tv.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
Public Relations 3. Notice it was require. And notice in the WHO Level 6, it's mandatory, compulsory.
By the way, Bermas.
Yes, sir.
Here is the patent from 2007 originally, and they got it on March 5th, 2009. But they put the application in 2006, actually, and went through in 2007. Baxter for the swine flu vaccine.
Oh, isn't that just lovely? All right. And it's approved in March. Right in the beginning of March, right after they sent it out in February. That's so weird. You know, they sent it out to 14 countries in February, the H5N1, the bird flu vaccine. Okay, they sent that one out, and it has live bird flu virus in it. Oh, what do you? Kills ferrets. It doesn't make any news in the United States whatsoever. MSNBC does one small story on it, and it's totally and completely buried. Bloomberg reports on it, does 3 updates. No one picks it up. And these are the people that we give the swine flu contract to. Remember, it's not swine flu, it's 3 spots. One of them is H5N1 that's in this virus. And I suspect they probably would have said it was a bird flu epidemic had that not happened, and they didn't need to clean up their checks just a little bit. All right, International Swine Flu Conference. Let me show you how this works. Okay, they get everybody prepared. They bring in all these different organizations. Then they say, oh, by the way, we're launching the Continuity of Government Program. COG, which is the shadow government. Say it with me, kids. The shadow government exists. It's not, it's not Sesame Street we're talking about here. We're talking about the people that make decisions without any repercussions, without any real legislation, without any input from we the people. Top leading and key decision makers of major companies, because we are in a corporatocracy, or I can't even pronounce it. We're really in a technopoly. But corporations, companies, it's all the same thing. Major government is them. They are the shadow government. They are the military-industrial complex. Are representing a broad range of industries. Major companies, broad range of industry. Very, very odd. This is about keeping us safe, right? Not about profits. We'll get to that in a moment. It's about profits as well. It's about putting us under martial law, putting us in fear, getting us sick, and making a huge profit while they do it. Pretty disgusting. Pretty disturbing, pretty unbelievable if you don't know the facts. If you haven't watched the 1979 60 Minutes piece where they admit that the swine flu paralyzed and killed a bunch of people. Remember, it was blamed for Gillian's bear. It was just blamed. It didn't do it. It's so ridiculous. Let's see. They will meet. These large industries and major companies are going to meet with scientists, public health officials, law enforcers, first responders, and other experts to discuss pandemic prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery. Well, here is pandemic preparedness planning right here in the little WHO book. Oh, and this is an international conference. Oh, is the United Nations going to be there? You bet they are. The United Nations Coordinator for Avian and Human Influenza, Alex Thurman of the World Health Organization. Let's see, and Dr. Wenging Zhang of the WHO Epidemic and Pandemic Alert and Response Team will be there. Or were there, I'm sorry. This already took place. What are they talking about? Well, topics will include, let's start it off the bat, mass fatality management planning. All right, we're getting ready for dead bodies, baby. Woo! For some flu. For some sniffles. For something you should be drinking ginger ale, having some chicken soup, and crackers over. Mass fatality management planning. Look, I've got like a dozen callers on the line. We're going to come back. We're going to take your calls, go over this document big time. It's the Info Warrior with Jason Bermas.